Hello and welcome to the show. I am just so grateful to have you on today. Listen, it's been a great week, and I hope you all have had a great week as well. Today on the show, as I say, we always have these phenomenal guests on the show. I always tell you that this year is the power of now. So this month we are celebrating creatives, and thank you all assistant producers for that theme. And what that means is people who are doing extraordinary things and really living in their gifts, working in their gifts that God has given them. Today on the show, you're going to meet Miss Ashley Lawhorn. She's the owner of Charisma Fashion, and you're going to meet Rosemary Sherrod, who is also the author of Believing in the Dark. And then, of course, our poet laureate is here with us, Miss Angel Howell. So I just want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy, because it's coming up next. The Curry Insurance Agency has served the community for over 30 years with hundreds of trained representatives to assist you in selecting health plans. Curry Insurance Agency is the largest marketing insurance group in the state of South Carolina for Medicare Advantage and represents all major health carriers. Curry's motto is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Call the Curry Agency today at 803-536-0889. The Cecil Williams South Carolina Civil Rights Museum is the Palmetto State's first and only museum. It honors a generation of people, black and white, throughout the state of South Carolina who deserve to be remembered for their unselfish commitments and sacrifices. Enjoy an immersive and entertaining virtual tour. For more information, visit www.cecilwilliams.com. Welcome back to the show. Well, I told you we've got an exciting show for you today. As always, our poet laureate, Miss Poetic Angel, is joining us because Angel always has a beautiful and inspirational poem that she writes, and she's coming to us today. Come on in, Angel.
Hi, Tammy.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. And
All
I would
right.
like to congratulate you again on your award that you received today.
Oh, thank you, Angel. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You
So,
ready
what do
for
you?
me?
Yep. What do you have for us today, Angel?
Well, as we start April, as you know, this is the month of resurrection. So I would like to do my poem entitled The Good Shepherd. And as we know, God is the ultimate good shepherd, but I would like to read about the good shepherd that he has given us here on earth. The Good Shepherd. The good shepherd with God instruction leads, the holy word he freely feeds to all of his sheep in his pasture, teaching them to rely on the master. He shows his sheep how to be strong so they can endure stormy weather when the day is long. And when that long day turns into night, he reminds them that the battle is not theirs to fight. He prays for them daily, calling them name by name, to the one who has the power to raise the dead and heal the lame. The Good Shepherd wants his sheep to understand that nothing supersedes God's plan. He directs his sheep to the throne of grace for things in life they cannot face. He knows his sheep get weary at times, so he goes before the master with his sheep on his mind. The sheep will also do the same, go before God and call out the Good Shepherd's name. They understand that herding lost sheep is no easy task, so they go before God and humbly ask that God keep the Good Shepherd strong for when the days and nights in the pasture get long. They also encourage the Good Shepherd too, telling him thank you for all he has done and continues to do. The Good Shepherd.
Goodness, Angel, fabulous, fabulous. Wow, the Good Shepherd, and the Good Shepherd has been watching over us all these years.
Yes.
And Angel, I thank you for that. I mean,
You're
just
welcome.
beautiful, 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 as always,
Thank
as
you, Tammy.
always.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. And when I say poet laureate, folks, I just want you to know that she is the poet laureate for the Tammy Show. I named her that. Okay, so we're waiting for the experts to name her that as well. But I named her that on the show because that's how I feel about her and that's what she does. So, Angel, again, thank you so much, my darling.
Thank you.
All right, love you.
Love you too.
All right. All right, folks. I tell you what, when you have someone who is so creative as Angel is, and I said it's about celebrating creatives, um, just beautiful, beautiful poems that she gives us. And so, again, Angel, thank you. All right. So, our next guest that you're going to meet, phenomenal woman. She's a Detroit native. She resides now in Huntsville, Alabama. She's the owner of the lifestyle brand Charisma Fashion Company and Studio Charisma. Please welcome Miss Ashley Lahorn. Hi, Miss Ashley.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me. Nice to
Thank
meet
you.
you.
Such a pleasure to meet you as well. Thank you so much for being on the show, Ashley. I tell you, as I
Absolutely.
said, just a phenomenal woman. I mean, you've done so much, Ashley. So I want you to try kind of give us just a little bit of who Ashley is.
Well, thank you for the compliment. That's so exciting to hear others acknowledging and just being called a phenomenal woman in itself. Because, entrepreneurship, you don't always feel as phenomenal as things turn and you're learning more. I have Charisma. I launched in 2015. I started as a plus only brand and um, I started with maybe 5 items. It cost me about $500. I thought to myself, yes, I'm going to sell out. I'm rich, right? um, I was really excited to take a leap of faith and walk into something that I always wanted to do. And of course, it's been quite the journey since 2015. And now in 2020, we expanded from plus only to carrying women's clothing small to 3X. And I do like to say Charisma's a lifestyle brand because when it comes to our niche, our clientele have a range of careers and on a range of lifestyles. And we just encourage different styles for whatever their life brings at that moment that they want to show up as their best selves. So we look forward to our influencers. That's what I call them because every woman has influence, and we're
Mm-hmm.
big on making sure that the women know that they have influence and that it's to be shared. It is a gift.
Wow.
So that's
Yeah.
what I do. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Wow. Well, Miss Ashley, a question comes to mind. When did you first notice you had a passion for fashion?
Well, it goes back, and if anyone has read any publication on me, any stories, I always tell about when I was 11 years old. I went to church with my aunt and my cousin, and I was prophesied over by a prophet who was visiting the church. And in that prophecy, he let me know God was telling him that I was going to be in this conference room with ideas in fashion that would be unique and one of a kind. And I held on to that from 11 years old. After that, it was fashion for me. But I wasn't good at drawing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not a sewer. So I thought because I didn't have those natural abilities or it wasn't doing too well at being taught it that maybe I should let it go. But I just kept being brought back to it, and that let me know that God wanted me to walk into it. So I took the leap of faith finally after being disobedient and and scared,
All right.
and I just been doing it scared now.
Wow. And I always say this and we hear this all the time. People see your story, but they don't
Yes,
really, they see the glory, but they don't really know the story.
yes.
And my question to you is about your biggest struggles with
Mhm.
starting your business. What was that like?
So in 2015, the only thing that I had planned out was those 5 items. I didn't have a business plan. I did not have knowledge of business taxes. Anything on the back end of running a business I wasn't experienced in. So I had to learn it the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up putting myself in a deficit before I even made any sales,
Mm-hmm.
because I had created and formed my business in 2015, but I didn't actually announce it to the public until 2016. And so legally, in the eyes of the state, I owed business taxes, privilege taxes, all these taxes. And I did not learn about it until I started getting notices.
Wow.
So I had to learn the hard way. And that discouraged me to fall back from it and say, well, maybe the prophecy was just for me to do it for a corporation and not
Mm-hmm.
on my own. And I sat still on it. I let it go. I was discouraged. And eventually I started picking myself back up, and I really wanted to learn. So I began going to different workshops, taking advantage of any business seminars, financial education, things like that. I would go to it, take note, meet different people who had those skills so that I could at some point outsource. And that's where I've been in this season of my business. I've been able to outsource that help in the areas that I just don't know, because my expertise would be the clothing,
Mm-hmm.
my eye for fashion. So I just had to learn how to navigate the areas that aren't my expertise and really seek God to show me who to work with and how to be effective in my business.
Right. Ashley, it's great that you would say that, because what I hear out of that is mentors. I
Yes.
hear learning your craft, learning the business side of it,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times when you said, as you said, when we go into business, sometimes we don't have that business plan. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know how to do the business taxes. We don't know what it means to run a business.
Yes.
And so I'm glad that you shared that with folks, because, as I said, people see everything that you have now, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't know the backstory. And kudos, I mean, congratulations to you, Ashley,
Thank
on all
you.
that you have done. What would you say is one of the major accomplishments or the most significant accomplishment for you in your business?
Um, Major accomplishment. It's a number of them, but if I had to group them together, it's still being able to actually pursue my business full time, um, and not having to have a different source or take any time. I'm able to give everything I have to my business in this season. And so I'm really adamant about using the same work ethic that I use for companies in my own company.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing the results of um, that determination, and I'm very persistent. So I just brought all of that persistence that I use in the corporate world when I was there and brought it to my own company, and I'm even more passionate about it. So that's my biggest accomplishment, is just staying in tune with it and not getting lazy on my own brand.
Right, right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important.
Yes.
As a woman, a lot of times we do get discouraged, especially when it comes to financing your business
Yes.
and having the resources to really make that business work. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, those 5 dresses, $500, you said, "Oh, okay, I got it now."
We're up.
We
I'm good.
I got it now. But being an entrepreneur, what is the favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur for you?
Creative control.
Mm-hmm.
Creative control.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yeah.
always been a visual person. That is my strength. And I like being able to create my own collections and interacting with women and learning from them what works, what doesn't work, what pain points still exist, even outside of my own pain points that I describe.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be absolutely, um, I would label that.
Right. It's and like you said, it's that creative control, and it's that
Yes.
time.
Mm-hmm.
The time. Now, every time we talk about people, when we talk to people and they say you're in your own business, they think, oh, you can take off when you want to, you can do this. But
Yeah,
really,
no.
when you work for
Mm-mm.
yourself, you even work harder. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Isn't that true?
It's absolutely true. Right now, I have been my own graphic designer, my own customer service, my own support system.
That's right.
Absolutely. You play way more roles. I think that society sees the freedom of entrepreneurship and think that that's the basis of it, but you have to work
Hmm.
even harder, and especially in a full-time entrepreneurship role, because you have to bring in that income. Working
Yes.
capital is everything, and if you
Hmm.
don't have those resources, you can go under. So it
Real
motivates
quick.
me.
that
Hmm.
mo And so that was my
Yes.
next question. What motivates you? What keeps you going?
Yes. Keeping this business, the heartbeat beating in my business, um, and opportunities to share my story, to share how I got where I am, what mistakes I made. If I can help someone else not make those mistakes, then I want to share that information, because I just think if it's for you, then the passion that you'll have for it, you won't let it go.
Exactly.
So being motivated by my own brand, I mean, I'm really passionate about my brand, like, so I don't want it to go under, especially
Hmm.
when I believe it to be the purpose of my life. That is why I was created, and something about this business is my actual ministry, and so I want to
Mm.
walk in that.
Oh, wow, wow,
Hmm.
wow. Well said. So the other question is, like you were talking about your brand, what sets you apart from others? Your brand.
Being myself, I had to really push out of a shyness that was there for my business. So at first I thought I could rely on other faces, but once I put my own face on the forefront, I got a different reaction, more
Hmm.
engagement. So I realized, okay, you have to come from behind the curtain and stand in
Yep,
your brand,
that's right.
and be that brand. Um,
That's
so
right.
yeah, that's
That's yeah. I mean, people don't realize when you create a brand, you've got to keep it going, and
yes,
you've got to set yourself apart in some manner that people are going to say, "Oh, I want to try that. I want to
yes.
do that," because I definitely am coming to Huntsville, Alabama, to visit you because you said plus
Yes,
size, and so
yes,
you must send me some pictures and also that I can see. Um,
absolutely.
Maybe I can wear them on the show.
Yes, wonderful. I see we Pearl girls today, so
Hello, hello. Excuse me. Now, I do have a question because you also wrote a book,
I
and
did.
Shattering the Mirrors of Self Hate and
Mhm.
Embracing the Reflections I See. Talk
Yes.
about your book.
My book is my personal journey with self-esteem. It's based on a season of my life where I was walking through and having to face the demons of low self-esteem. I didn't see myself as capable of running a business, let alone looking in the mirror and saying, "You're beautiful." I struggled with self image, I struggled with weight, and felt like that was one of my biggest thorns. I thought I had to look a certain way to be successful. So I took my story and went ahead and just shared that, what that walk was like, how I had to overcome by submitting to God. I had to go to God for it. There was no book that would help me by itself. And I wrote the book in 2015 also.
Wow.
And I did not release it. I wrote it and I sat on it
Mm.
because I was sensitive about the reactions. And in 2020, I finally got the courage to push it out and say, this is my story. This is what my experience has been. And if my story can help someone else, again, that's my ministry. And to not release it is to be disobedient, because God gave it to me to
Exactly.
share. Hmm.
Exactly. So, was the book, for some authors, books help them. And
Hmm.
was it like a healing experience for you as you were writing this book?
Absolutely. It was a purge of a sort to just share what it looks like from my perspective. Because visually, sometimes people outside of you see your light as bright, but I was
Yes.
struggling because behind closed doors, I saw it as dim. And
Mm,
so what they saw, I didn't see. And even where I am now, I still struggle with that here and there. It's an ongoing process. So having the book just reminds me sometimes if I'm having a moment where I feel like I'm going backwards, then that book, reading some of my own words, helps me to get back centered.
hmm and for a lot of women, that's the one thing that we all struggle with, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet as it's kept, a lot of women have that inside of them internally that they
Yes.
are dealing with. Yes, you see us smiling on the outside, hey, how you doing? But on the inside, it's like, am I good enough? Am I going to do
Yes.
this? Will I be able to do this? And I think it's only, as you said, with the help of God and just relying on God and say, okay, God, I give it all to you. It's
Yes.
how you start to feel, okay, I can do this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. You gave it to me. I can do that. And so, as we're talking about that, what is the takeaway you want women to know learn from this interview? What do you want them to glean from this interview?
One, to always be transparent about your story. It's your experience, it's your perspective. I always say one of the greatest tricks of the enemy is to make us believe that we're by ourselves in things that we feel and that we go through, when really, once I share my story out loud, there are
Hmm.
probably multiple people who will connect with that story. And once we're able to say it out of our mouths and rebuke it, we're able to move from it. So definitely always be transparent and accepting of yourself, flaws and all.
Hmm.
And also that you may fall, you may stop, you may pause, but just pick up and try again. Do it again. If I would have let 2017 stop me, then I wouldn't be here talking to the beautiful Miss Tammy right now.
Oh.
You know? So you have to just pick yourself up, feel what you feel. Emotions are a natural thing. They're meant for you to feel. Just don't let them have you and overtake your dreams and your goals.
Wow. You said it. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
summed it up. And so getting back to the story, there are other women and some men who are out there looking
Yes.
at the show. And what advice would you give them as they're starting to go into business or wanting to start a business?
Learn as much as you can. Um, Always invest in learning. There is no stopping point to learning. Take on what you believe you know and verify it,
Hmm.
and then add layers to it and learn something new. As long as you don't have to be an expert. I don't have to be an expert in accounting, but I do need to reach out to an expert for understanding so that I know where I'm going and if I'm scaling or if I need to pivot my business to do something where we can go in the direction of the goal. So never be afraid of facing what feels intimidating.
Wow. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So
Thank
so
you.
what's next for Ashley and Charisma? What's next?
Charisma, we've launched Studio Charisma, which is our service-based side of the company, where we are offering styling, fashion styling, celebrity styling, personal styling, as well as closet organization and home.
Hmm.
And we're building a team of stylists so that we have a variety of creative minds and fashion eyes to really expand for our customers. So we have a bigger scope for what we could provide for them.
That is great.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I know with you, you work in the community, so that's without saying that I
Hmm.
know Charisma is out there helping other women, and as you said, encouraging and really empowering women, especially those that have low self-esteem. And I know
Yes,
when they put on your clothing, they're
yes.
like, okay. So there's a question that just came to mind, and I
Mhm.
forgot to ask you about it. Do you design all of your clothing, or do you have someone design it for you?
I buy wholesale. So
Okay.
all of my garments are designed by outside manufacturers. And then
Mhm.
I just go about the buying and choosing and selecting the items.
Wow, and that's a whole nother subject we could talk about. Going
Yes.
out here, child, going to the shows and picking this and picking that,
Yes.
and how exciting is that?
So exciting. And I just went to Vegas this year for the first time to an in-person market. And I was a kid in the candy store.
I know
So
you were.
I was so excited to be there. And that experience was great too.
I know. I used to go to the shows in Atlanta at the Galleria when I was living in
Yeah.
Atlanta. So I'd go there, and I mean, like you said, you're like a kid in a candy store because they have everything. And when
Yes.
those big shows come, people from all over. So I can only imagine with you and your passion that you are doing what God has purposed you to do.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Well,
that is success in itself.
that's right. That's right. Well, I have my last question is what three words describe you, Ashley?
Consistent, persistent, and determined.
Consistent, persistent, and determined.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Well, Ashley, I just want to tell you it was such a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for
You
taking
as
the time
well.
out to be with us here on the show and to just sit and have a conversation. I pray that
Absolutely.
God will continue to bless you in everything that you're doing. And if there's anything that we can do here on the Tammy Show, please don't hesitate to call me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes,
And
ma'am.
thank you for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. It was such a pleasure for me and my honor to have
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Well, listen, you take care of yourself, Ashley, and we'll be in touch.
Yes, ma'am. See you when you come to Huntsville.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Have a
Thank you.
good one.
You too. Thank you so much,
Thank
Ashley.
you.
All right. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you what, me talking with Miss Ashley Lahorn, and it is Lahorn. I tell you what, she's fantastic. And if you're ever in Huntsville, Alabama, you must visit Charisma Fashion Company and Studio Charisma. All right. All right. So we're going to take a break and we're going to come back because you're going to meet another phenomenal, amazing woman. We'll be right back.
The Cecil Williams South Carolina Civil Rights Museum is the Palmetto State's first and only museum. It honors a generation of people, black and white, throughout the state of South Carolina who deserve to be remembered for their unselfish commitments and sacrifices. Enjoy an immersive and entertaining virtual tour. For more information, visit www.cecilwilliams.com. The Curry Insurance Agency has served the community for over 30 years with hundreds of trained representatives to assist you in selecting health plans. Curry Insurance Agency is the largest marketing insurance group in the state of South Carolina for Medicare Advantage and represents all major health carriers. Curry's motto is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Call the Curry Agency today at 803-536-0889.
Welcome back to the show. I hope that you enjoyed that segment with Angel, our poetic angel, and also Miss Ashley Lahorn. Tell you what, beautiful women, beautiful women. So you're going to meet another beautiful and amazing woman. She's born and raised in Chicago. She now resides in Huntsville, Alabama. She is an ordained minister, a member of the urban gospel group Shekinah Glory. Yes. And the author of Believing in the Dark. Embrace what is blooming in your darkness. Well, without further ado, please welcome the minister, Rosemary Sherrod or Sherrod. How are you doing, Miss Rosemary?
Oh my goodness, I'm doing well, Miss Tammy. Thank you so much. And it is Sherrod. You had it
Yes.
right.
Great, wonderful, wonderful. Well, listen now, I read everything, but the Shekinah glory kind of slipped through me, and all I hear is
Yeah.
yes, yes, the song. Wow. So I'm talking to one of the ladies who sings in Shekinah glory. I tell you what.
Well, see that, and that's the thing. Like I'm a part of a group called Shekinah and Glory, but it's not the choir.
Oh, it's not the
Uh huh.
choir.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Shekinah and Glory. A lot of times we get compared to Mary, Mary.
Yes.
The group is a, like urban style hip hop
Mhm.
Christian gospel group, and I'm the rapper, and my best friend sings. So that's why we get compared to Mary, Mary a lot.
Oh, Shekinah and
And
glory.
Glory, yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
wow. Okay, so hopefully I can get you to do a little piece of something.
Oh man.
So listen, just like I asked Ashley Rosemary, tell us a little bit about who Rosemary is.
hmm Well, I guess one of the first things I identify with is being a mom. I'm a mom of three. Um, there are two adults now. My sons, Kivante and Xavier. I have a daughter. She's 17 now. Um, but my oldest son, he did pass away from cancer. But I have enjoyed my journey as a mom. Been a single mom for over 15 years, so that's a part of my story as well. Um, and as you mentioned, yes, I am an ordained minister. I've been faithful to my ministry, Redeem and Love Outreach Ministries, for over 20 years. Love serving. Love serving. I enjoy working, doing all things kingdom.
Mhm.
And as you mentioned with Shekinah and Glory, my best friend and I, we've traveled doing youth conferences and serving the kingdom and rapping and singing for Jesus for over 15 years. Um, and
Mm.
I just love Jesus.
Hey,
Love to have
hallelujah.
fun. I can be silly at times. I
Yeah.
like to have fun. And those are the things that are just off the top of my head of, to kind of say who I am.
Wow. Well, to say who you
Oh,
are,
and now I'm an author.
well,
That's the
yes, yes,
new
that's what
that's
I
the
was getting ready to
newest.
say. That's the
I didn't want to leave
biggest
that
thing.
out. I
Yeah.
didn't want to leave that out. So I made my author debut in December of 2021. So I'm still used to adding that title.
Yeah, congratulations,
Thank you.
congratulations. So, as an ordained minister, a member of a gospel choir where you are the rapper, what made you decide? What was the inspiration that started you to want to write a book, to write your book?
hmm Well, when my son was 8 years old, he was diagnosed with cancer, neuroblastoma, which is known to be a very aggressive childhood cancer. And that was the beginning of a 15-year journey. Very challenging to my faith, very hard, ended up being very heartbreaking. Um, Going through a lot of, roller coaster of emotions and mainly, like I say, a challenge to it always challenged my faith. And me having to rise to the occasion and to just have faith and believe in God to heal my son. And so throughout the many years, he was in and out of remission. Um, we would always talk about this, our journey, my son and I. And we mentioned writing a book together, just kind of maybe during his early teens.
Mhm.
And so I'll fast forward when the cancer came back when he was about 21. The cancer was always localized to his lung, right lung, never went outside of that area throughout the whole journey until when he was 21. It ended up spreading to his brain and spine,
Mm.
and eventually end up being put on hospice. And and he would always say, "Well, Mama, God's going to get something out of this," And we would begin to talk about a book, and we always had plans of writing the book together. Um, but then I kind of realized that, okay, he's grown now. Maybe his desires have changed. And I would say, well, son, do you want to write your own book? Because he was very passionate about holistic eating and eating whole foods. And my passion was always kind of lean towards ministry and faith. And he
Mhm.
said, and he looked at me, he said, well, Mama, honestly, whatever's going to help people the most. So with that being said, fast forward to when he passed away March 17th of 2020. I thought back on that, all of that, the journey. And I said, okay, this story did not end up nowhere near like what I expected and believed, and even believed God for. And I felt almost like this baton was passed to me, that I had to tell his story, and not just tell his story, but to tell the story of God, the God story, the journey of faith, 15 years of believing God to heal your child, and then not receiving what you hope for, and sharing the lessons that the Holy Spirit shared with me. Um, that he showed me was still a journey of faith, because faith is not always about getting what exactly we want, but
Mhm.
his the will of God, it always trumps faith. And so
Mhm.
I decided to share these many lessons that I felt the Holy Spirit shared with me, walking me through my dark season, like I call it, believing in the dark, walking me through my dark season, and me seeing the light of God, seeing the light of Jesus in that season, and sharing those lessons with people. And so that's how the book came about. Is I felt a call, I felt a pull to share those things, and then also, even ministering to other parents that have lost their child, and people that struggle with grief.
Mhm. Mhm. So, as you're talking, I want to hear about some of those lessons, not necessarily giving the book away, but
Hmm.
just sharing some of those lessons that you learned
Hmm.
during that time. And again,
Yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss,
Oh, thank you.
losing a child.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not easy.
No.
Um, and it challenged me in so many ways, spiritually, but because I already had a really strong relationship with God. I believe in taking everything. Like, if you're angry, talk to God. If you're sad, talk to God. And I think that that was the core of my strength, and that I took everything to God. When for a second, I was mad at God. And for a moment, I was, depressed, and all these different
Mm.
things, that emotions, and, these different phases I took to God. And I think with me taking those things, meaning just talking to God about it, it opened up this door for him to talk back to me. And so that was, that's just one lesson to share. I always tell people, I don't care how dark, whatever it is that you're facing, if you shut God out, that's
Mm.
when you're missing it.
Come on.
So I always tell people, just don't shut them out. Go to him with everything. A lot of times when people begin to go through these trials and tribulations, that's when they stop going to church, or they disconnect themselves from other believers, and disconnect themselves from God. And it's like, that's your power source. If
Yes.
you're going through trials and tribulations, that's not the time to disconnect. It's the time to cling with everything that's in you, cling
Mm.
on to him. And so one of the lessons that I mentioned about, I remember leaving the hospital the day that he passed. And as I was driving out that garage, we were in at MD Anderson. He passed away in Houston, Texas,
Mhm.
at
Yes.
MD Anderson Cancer
Anderson.
Center.
Mhm.
And I remember driving out that big garage in this big city, and I was looking up at the sky, and I said, God, but I believed.
Mm.
I believed, because I had such a strong faith. Everyone that came to me thought I was crazy, because the doctors had given him 6 months to live. He lived 9 months after that. That full 9 months, I was,
Mm.
believed. And not saying that I didn't struggle, but
Right.
I felt like I was consistent in my faith. And God said to me, He said, but faith is not just getting exactly what you want. He said, that's what I've given you for 15 years.
Mm.
I've given you that time. That time was
Mm.
a gift. He said, but faith is also believing that you can make it even through this.
Mm.
And that, at that time, knowing that my son's body was in that hospital and I'm
Mm.
driving away, after giving it my all for 15 years, um, that was profound for me, for him to say that even in this is where your faith has to now carry you.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
I think that one of the biggest lessons is really understanding that, I would like to say, a lot of times in the experience of church, and when we preach on faith, It's always like claim it, believe it. And that's true. You do claim it and you do believe. And yes, we can receive. But I would like to add to that to say, if you believe it, if you claim it, if you believe it, if you don't receive it, it does not change who God is. It
Mm,
does not change
mm,
his abilities and how he performs and how he shows up. If he does not show up in the way that you expected, would you say that he's still God? And so
mm,
Faith is saying, you know what? I would have loved to have had 30 more years with my son. But I realized that, you know what, though he decided to take him due to the will of God, trumping my faith, the will of God
mm-hmm.
decided to say it's time.
Time. Mm-hmm.
Um, it does not change who God is, and it does
Mm,
not change his ability and nor his power.
mm, mm, mm.
And so that was one of the biggest, and that to
Wow.
me was just a mindset shift that God wanted me to shift how I viewed faith, which really took me to another level of trusting Him. Because now I'm not, I really all the more pray, God, not my will, but your will be
Oh,
done.
will be done.
And
Hallelujah.
and if his will, doesn't look like my will, I trust him. I
Mm-hmm.
trust him that
Anyhow.
yeah, I trust him. And I really say that from the genuineness of my heart because I just think I don't know if everyone experiences it's not about death, but experiencing something there's no way you made it through that without God.
That's
And
right.
losing and burying my oldest child, my son, he was my best friend. I talk about it in the book how he was my best friend. I became a mother at 14 years old. So we had a very unique bond where I was his mother. I put my foot down, but he was my friend as well.
Mm-hmm.
And burying him and being able, I thought I was going to faint. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I was going to die losing him. And to be able to see that I made it out in my right mind and that I still love God. My faith has not wavered, but it has been strengthened. That's been a great lesson.
Mm.
You
Wow.
want another lesson or you good with
Yeah.
that
No,
one?
listen, listen, I could keep talking to you, but one of the things is, as I was listening to you, is the stages of grief, because you talked about the fact that at one time you were angry with God, you were upset with God.
Yes.
And when people hear that, they say, how could that be? You can't be, but that's a part of the grieving process. And I'm glad that you said that. So people that are listening that have lost loved ones and
Mm,
and are saying, well, God, he took my child away, or God took my
yeah.
mother, or my whatever, that they understand that it's a part of that process.
And
And it's human.
it's very human. That's what I was going to say. I used to be one of those people. I hear people say they were mad at God, and I'll be like, come on, you don't have no real relationship. I would
Hmm.
think this
Hmm.
type of stuff. But I remember my best friend, she would always call me out on my actions. And my best friend said to me, she said, what's wrong with you? You have this edginess about you. And I thought she was just tripping. I was like, oh, nothing's wrong with me. And so, but when she said it, I started paying attention and I could feel I was edgy. And my edgy was coming from my anger. I was
Mm.
harboring this anger because when the cancer spread to my son's brain and spine, he began to decline in a way that my grief started before he died.
Mhm.
He it was on his spine, so I watched him lose his mobility of his legs.
Mm.
Strong, vibrant, beautiful boy. He was 23, 22, 23. Beautiful boy, vibrant. And it's like seeing him needing a walker, seeing him lose so much weight, he was literally skin and bones.
Mm.
And the whole time, really, it was my pain. Pain can thrust you into anger because it was an agonizing thing to watch him decline and deteriorate before my eyes. And then it got so bad, of course, he was on hospice. And being on hospice, feeling it what felt to me like his life was slipping through my fingers slowly,
Mm.
despite my proclamation of faith and despite my faithfulness of leaving him at home, with his sister, and going to church and still giving God praise. The whole time anger was building up and I didn't
Mhm.
realize it. And this was the human side because I
Yes.
didn't plan to be angry. I didn't make a decision to say, I'm going to be angry with God now. No, I looked up and I was angry and I had to deal with it. And at one point, I remember going to my bedroom and I just had a real conversation with God. I said, I'm sitting up here going to church and I'm believing you, and he's dying, God. Like, can you please hurry up? And I remember just feeling the anger, and then I repented. I said, God, I'm sorry that I feel this way, but this is how I feel. And I don't, and I said, and then I began to ask God, was he a liar? I said,
Mm,
you said that
mm,
you would heal my
mhm,
son. I'm quoting these scriptures. You said to remind you of your word. I'm reminding you, and he's dying, God. Can you hurry up? And I said, are you a liar? And I mean, I was really mad,
mm.
but I always tell everyone is not, you can be mad, but be respectful because he is God. And,
Yes,
and
yes.
and that's how I felt. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to disrespect you, but I'm hurting. And that following Sunday, no one knew what I had prayed. I was in the privacy of my bedroom. And in the message, my pastor was preaching. She looked towards me and she said, and God, he is not a liar. And it put
Mm.
fear of God in me. It scared me really because I knew she didn't know. No one knew that what I had prayed. And that
Right.
was God saying to me, no, I'm not a liar. And I didn't know what to do with that, but to continue to seek God and understand, well, why is he declining? Why is he? And so I could just continue to believe that God was going to heal him. And so he was on hospice for 2 months, and we ended up going to MD Anderson, and I thought that's where the miracle would happen.
Mm.
And so, and he was there for 3 months, and God did show up in another way. It was needed for me. I needed the support. I did not know I would need the support, the love that they gave, the support that they gave for a parent that was
Mhm,
losing a child. It was absolutely needed. Though I was in the realm of faith and believing,
mhm.
they gave me such support to help me through that process. And he was there for 3 months before he passed away.
Wow. And I had a cousin who's now deceased as well from her
Mm,
cancer that was at MD Anderson. And
yeah,
all you hear people talk about, and she also told me, she said, Tammy, she said, cuz that's the best place that I could
it's
have
amazing.
been. She said, and then she came home, of course. And she said that was the best place I could have been through
Yeah.
all of this, through all
Oh,
of
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And,
It was the
and
best place for me. It gave me the complete support I needed, because we're spirit, soul, and body. I had all the spiritual side down, but when I was on the verge of breaking down because I'm watching him, pretty much die slowly before me, the support I needed, even the support he needed, it
mhm,
was there. And so it was still a move of God, though I was looking for the healing to come out of it and thought that maybe a clinical trial or something like that would help. That's God was really providing another need. And I mean, he loved music, and they had even like music therapy and art therapy, and they had all these vast different things to help
mhm.
us through that last phase and stage of his life. So it was still a blessing in
Blessing.
disguise.
Wow. See, God will do it each and every time. Like you said, if
Yes.
we just let him. And I love what you talk about, real conversations. I want to get
Mhm.
back to the book. I want to ask you, do you view writing um, as a spiritual practice?
I would say definitely for me, yes. I'm not sure, why another author or writer writes. Um, I think for me, it was a gift. I would say maybe hidden to some degree. I mean, I've always written songs. Like I said,
Mhm,
my partner and I, Benicia James, and with Shekinah and Glory, we wrote all of our songs, and they were all from real experiences. And that was a sense of writing, and it was always therapeutic for me in one sense because we always wrote about our real life experiences and to encourage people, to enlighten people about God's character. But it always came from such a real place
mhm,
for me, where, every time I opened my mouth, I was really talking to myself. And so for God to bless me to write a book, that was just like God taking it to another level that I had never envisioned or planned. I think God was preparing me English was always my favorite subject. And so I had an English teacher in college, and I love writing papers,
Mhm.
and she would say to me, she said to me one day, and it never left my mind. And then when I wrote this book, she was one of the first people I reached out to. She told me one day, she said, you should write a book one day. And this was like, she didn't know anything really about me. She just knew I was one of her students and that I really kind of took a liking to writing. And so that was maybe 10 years ago. And so
Wow.
I found her, and I said, guess what? I have written a book,
Really?
and she saw it before I saw it. That's
Mhm.
what I mean. But I think it was always kind of there. I just didn't realize it, did not plan it, except for with my son, and it was more about wanting to share. It was so that journey of 15 years and being at the hospital and watching other children go through childhood cancer and being stuck at the hospital with no money because you
Mm,
can't work because you got a child is,
that's
I
right.
mean, it was so complex and so many layers. I felt like I wanted to share that, but I never, it was not probably really taken hardcore seriously until he passed away, that I felt like I can't let this die. I need to get this out.
Wow. And Mr. Rosemary, one of the things that you reminded me of is that what God has instilled in you and your purpose is going to be fulfilled anyway. It
Yeah.
it may take years and years, but it's going to be fulfilled, and it's going to be in his time. But
Yes.
believe you me, what he has for you is for you. And
Yes.
that's what he has for you. This beautiful book, Believing in the Darkness, the in the dark, the title itself just says so much. I mean, you don't even have to open the pages of the book. If you just look at the title, embrace what is blooming in your darkness. Wow.
Yes, because
I
something is always blooming. If you got
exactly
it, and we just have to be open to see it.
see it.
Since writing this book, I've had several people to talk about how there's so many people out there not doing well with grief. And grief, I think that you can become stuck. And I think grief is something that we should be journeying through it. Not, it's just like life. It's something that, trials and tribulations, we're going through it, and not,
Hmm.
it's not meant for us to be stuck in the valley. Grief is something that I've heard people say you'll experience for the rest of your life. I think that's true to some degree. That yes, I will always think on my son, and I may cry. Think on my son, I may laugh. His memories, and I would miss him.
Hmm.
But even in grief, I told God, help show me how to grieve, because I don't know how to grieve. I don't know what it is to grieve. That was the first person that close to me that I had lost, and it was really humbling, because I didn't even know. I'm the type of person, I feel like I always have an answer kind of for everything, but that I was speechless. I didn't know. I didn't have any scriptures. The only thing I knew was that God was the God of all comfort, and I needed his comfort. But how to
Hmm.
grieve properly, I had to lean and depend on the power of the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
And that's what he has done. I cry a little bit, then I pick
Mm.
myself up,
So
and
far.
one of the things I posted recently on social media that was so true. I said, I've learned how to be when I grieve, I turn it into being grateful. And
Hmm.
so when I find myself missing him, and which is natural, or crying, that's natural. But then I also take the moment to say, God, I thank you that you allowed me to be the steward over this beautiful child for 23 years. Versus, because you know why? Because I was tempted to be mad, like, God, why you didn't give me more time? I wanted more.
Mm.
I mean, being a mother's heart, you never want to see that time end.
That's
You
right.
you want to leave, and not, you don't want to see them leave.
That's right.
And so
That's
I
right.
changed out a lot of my confession to protect my heart, that my heart would stay right with God throughout my grieving process. And whatever it is that I felt might have been, in a sense, negative, I just chose to be grateful. And it's helped. It has helped tremendously. And it has turned many of my tears into laughter. It
Mm.
really has. It has turned my tears into I'll laugh. And then some memory hit my mind, because he was a very bubbly, tall, lanky guy to come in. Hey, mom,
Mhm.
it had some bright idea or something that he was excited about. And I could think on that, and I'll start laughing. And I'm like, God,
Mhm.
thank you. And so
Mhm.
it's about we have to choose. even in our worst trials, tribulations, grief, our deepest pain, our darkest hour, do you want to come out on the other side or do you want to stay there? And
That's
I
right.
didn't want to stay in that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did not, I knew that it was not meant for me to stay in that deep level of agony that I was experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Ah, boy, I tell you, I can't wait to read the book. Of course, I haven't read it yet, but because Regina told me about you. And I said,
Yes.
"Oh, most definitely, most." And then I read about you, and I was like, "Oh, most definitely." And
Oh,
and
thank you.
so the question that I have from the producer is, what influenced you to become an ordained minister? How did that happen?
Yeah. So the ministry that I go to, I'm very passionate about serving. I would always sung on the praise team. We had a choir at one time. We was a choir, then we was a praise team, and then I've been the youth director for some years there. Then I've served over the singles some years,
Wow.
and this is all over a period of 20 years. And so we had a class to come up last year, and me considering all and how I served and
Mhm.
the vision that I feel like I have in my heart to even serve in a greater capacity, wanting to help people that are grieving and have a desire to speak for God.
Mhm.
I felt like when the ministers class came about, I said, you know what, let me participate, just to show myself faithful on another level. And
Mhm.
so last year I participated in our ministers class and received, my ordination with I think it was about 27 other ministers in our
Wow.
church. And so it was a grand time, especially kind of coming out the pandemic, but yet still in the pandemic. So
Mhm.
it was very exciting for me. And because I really take my service seriously.
Seriously.
And
Mhm.
so me being ordained was like a statement in my heart to God, like here am I. I'm here, I'm
Yeah.
ready to serve, and I'm willing to be held to a higher accountability.
That's right. Send me. That's what he
Yeah,
told her.
that's how
Send
I
me.
felt. I was like, here I am.
Send
You know,
me.
I
That's
know I haven't went through everything that I've went through just to sit here,
that's
and
right.
so that's what inspired me, just knowing that I've already served and I wanted to continue to serve to even a greater capacity.
Wow. Well, we're running out of time, but I do
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
ask you about your rapping with Shekinah and Glory. Shekinah and Glory. Give
Yes,
us
ma'am.
just a little snippet. Just a little
Oh, come
snippet.
on. I wasn't ready. You said a little snippet.
Just a little
Oh,
snippet.
let me see.
Or
I
sing
might
something.
All right, I might mess up a little bit because I haven't did it in a minute. So
Okay.
I might get out two lines for you, or three or four.
Okay. That's it.
We have a song called "Represent," and
Hmm.
it's talking about represent the kingdom of God. I wish I had my partner with me because she has a beautiful voice, Benicia.
Next
Um,
time.
oh yeah, everything that this world would desire for me to be was defeated when my Lord Jesus Christ died for me. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh man, you got me. Look,
Wow.
Benicia's gonna be calling me after this, like, girl,
Yeah.
you better get that whole verse
Get,
out.
get home. That's all right. That I listen. I just wanted you to do just something because a lot of times when we hear about rappers,
Yeah,
spiritual rappers and female spiritual rapper,
yeah.
you don't hear that often.
Oh
But
yeah,
I do want to finish up with asking you about a takeaway to the
yeah.
viewers. What's the takeaway from this interview that you'd like folks to know?
Um, you know, well, first I'm gonna say because I know we kind of hit on a lot of different topics of my gifts, and
Hmm.
I want to just encourage everyone to really utilize all that God has given you.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. I'm like, Lord, yes, I rap and sing, and there's so many gifts and talents that the Lord has blessed me with. I do graphic design. God has blessed me with my own graphic design freelancing company. But you know what? If you make sure you utilize everything that the Lord has given you, that's one thing I want to say. And if I could also and kind of shift over to embrace what is blooming in your darkness. I don't care if it's a death. I don't care if it's something grave that you felt like you never would experience. There is something, there is a light that is shining there that the Lord, because if the Lord is there, there's light. Okay.
Hmm.
When the Lord steps into a dark room, there is light. And so, but if you feel like you can't see it or you don't know how, seek the Lord, let him in, and he will show you.
Wow. And what's next for you, Minister Rosemary?
Whatever the Lord say. I will say that I do have plans on. I do have a book release celebration coming up May 14th, in Madison, Alabama. I'm very excited about. For me personally, is celebrating the legacy of my son. But the event is really. I'm really want to just celebrate light, the light of Christ, and that
Hmm.
we may live in this dark world, but we have hope because of him. And so
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that. That's May the 14th, and that's on Eventbrite. If you look up Believing in the Dark. But after that, I'm looking forward to writing another book specifically on grief, to really talk to those who are dealing with grief, because we are coming out of still somewhat in a pandemic where there
Pandemic.
are hundreds of thousands of people
That's
that
right.
I would say are dealing with grief, and whatever the Lord would impress on my heart to speak life to those individuals, I'm looking forward to doing that this year.
Wow. And I tell you what, I could keep talking to you, but I know we're running out of time, and I
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
make sure that all of our viewers have an opportunity to hear you, and learn more about you in the believing in the dark, embracing what is blooming in your darkness. What three words describe you, Rosemary?
Passionate, loving, and consistent.
And consistent. Passionate, loving, and consistent. Wow.
That's the first three things came to my mind. I was trying to
Mm,
be honest.
well, you listen. You've been honest the whole time. You have been honest the whole time. So next time we're going to have your partner come on, and y'all going
Yes.
to do a little something for
And
us.
our music is on iTunes.
It
Shekinah,
is
yeah,
okay,
Shekinah in glory, like the letter N.
right?
And I'm telling you, God has blessed us in that way too. So please look it up. And we have some pretty uplifting, powerful songs representing Jesus.
Amen. Well, we are going to make sure that we hear this. How can we
Yes.
get in touch with you, Rosemary?
Well, I'll just say on social media, Rosemary Sherrod is my Facebook page, but then I also have a page, Believing in the Dark.
Okay,
Yep.
leaving in the dark. All
Believing in the
right,
Dark. And our website, believinginthedark.com.
right. Well, I want to make sure that people get to check you out.
Oh, and the book is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Oh, okay. So I'm getting my book tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Miss. Thank you, Tammy, so much.
Rosemary, thank and Minister Rosemary. Listen, I love you and
I
thank you
love you
so
too.
much for being so transparent
Yes,
and for
ma'am.
sharing with us your story. I
Thank you,
mean,
Tammy.
amazing. You are amazing.
To God be
And
the glory.
I'm just so honored that you were able to be on the show tonight.
I'm glad you put up with me today.
Hey, no, girl, you put up with me.
Listen, thank you, Miss Tammy.
Thank you, Minister Rosemary. You take care of yourself and God bless you and your family.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
love you.
Love you
Take
too. Bye
care.
bye.
Bye bye. All right, well, let me tell you what. When you hear phenomenal women that we've had on the show today, they have some amazing stories and they all tie into the same thing. The constant word was consistent. Did you check that out? The constant word was consistent. And so determined, persistent, determined, consistent, passionate, loving, and again, consistent. These women are phenomenal, and I want to thank them for being on the show. I want to thank you, viewers, for always tuning in to Tammy. And, Angel, of course, my darling poetic Angel. Thank you as well. Next week, we're going to celebrate more entrepreneurs and some special guests as we're celebrating creatives this month. I want to thank my producer, Alicia, assistant producers, Tiana, Willie, and Felicia. Thank you. And please remember, subscribe to the Tammy TV show on YouTube. And as I always say, let's be a blessing to someone today and every day. And I want you all to have a safe and wonderful week. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.